This is TWiT.
Comcast and Charter, this is from Fast Company, face a grim new reality, actual competition. And the competition?
This is...
You like it? You happy?
Wireless 5G, baby. I knew this was going to happen. I was so excited. We saw it with... are they quoting Bruce Lakeman's stats from a couple weeks ago?
I'm sure they are. I'm just looking through it. Basically, their contention is that T-Mobile and Verizon's residential 5G services are growing fast enough to, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago,
because your daughter uses it, right?
My daughter uses Verizon, and it's $25 a month, less than a third what Comcast would charge her, for better performance. It's like 150 megabits down, 30 up. It's great.
Yeah.
But now, that your mileage may vary. She's near the highway, which means I think she's near a Verizon cell tower that isn't maybe too jammed or has a lot of, I'm sure it depends a lot on the quality of the service you're
Well, the wireless 5G, it's not just one tower. They actually have them all over. There's more cell towers, as it were, acting to provide the signal.
Yeah. Verizon.
Well, Stacey, where you live, I'm going to guess because it's Sylvan, it probably wouldn't work well for you. True or wrong?
It wouldn't. It's not because it's Sylvan. It's because we have NIMBYs who won't let cell towers.
That's what I'm saying. It's rich and Sylvan. Yes, we don't want to. We don't want to un-Sylvan it.
It's the Sylvan NIMBYs you got to watch out for.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, it's a Sylvan NIMBY. There we go.
They have pointy ears and little furry toes.
Actually, so apparently our city council tried to get a tower for AT&T on the island, like an additional tower, and AT&T, or maybe it was Verizon, said it just wasn't worth their money. So
how's your cell coverage?
Yeah, I was going to ask, who do you use and how is your coverage?
T-Mo is probably the best one on the island. I still use Verizon, but it's not great.
Huh. So they do have
And there
towers.
are parts of the island where, there is a tower.
a tower.
Well, you're going to need to go to the satellite then.
Oh, God, no. There's too many trees here for satellite.
Oh, well, so much for that then.
Let me just do a little research here. The total square mileage of your island is 65 square miles.
The history again?
We're so obsessed with this island.
The population is around 25,000. So, I think one tower should do for per each, right?
Well, but no, because you got to remember we're surrounded by water, and water is terrible for wireless signals.
Oh, is that true?
Water,
oh, really?
Water,
I didn't know that.
Mountains.
Didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The spectrum attenuates in water.
Well, but so if you're in a boat, it's not going to be good. But if you're on the island itself, it's not going to affect it, is it?
Well, but we get some of our signals, like some people on one side of the island that is close to Bremerton, they get their signal from Bremerton.
Your Bremerton signal would be pretty bad. Yeah. That makes sense.
But no, water is difficult. Federal airspace. Washington, D.C. is actually one of the most complex places to develop a cell network because of that. And that's federal airspace, water, and low-grade mountains. So who knew?
And CIA strange things going on. Yeah.
Well, that's the federal airspace. We'll just call federal craziness.
So, Stacey, I got a weird one for you that I wanted to hear your views because I don't understand this. And it's down on line 80. AWS offering private 5G for offices. I don't understand.
Build your own private mobile network.
Okay.
So, Stacey says, okay, I got a dummy.
No. I'm like, oh, what? Okay. So basically there's two kinds of private networks. One, there was this whole auction a couple of years ago where you could actually buy spectrum as a business or a school or something. And some companies did, like John Deere bought their own spectrum have a private network. I'm actually going to go visit it at the end of September.
Does it nationwide or is it just in certain?
Nope. It's only near their factory. So they've got a 5G.
So they have their own cell network for the factory, basically.
They have their own spectrum that they bought to run their own cell network. Wow. So that's one type of private network. And like Chevron has some spectrum of their own. MIT, I think, has some. Fewer companies bought it than expected. But so that's one type. That is not what AWS is doing. There is also company like AT&T provides a private 5G network where you operate your own cell equipment. So,
but it's on their network.
but it's on AT&T's network.
Yeah, we have a femto. We have a femto cell at TWiT because T-Mobile. We don't have any T-Mobile, so we have a femto cell connects to our internet network, but gives us T-Mobile service.
Yeah, but this is your own equipment in your own tower, but it's running on their spectrum. So it's like if you had a femto cell plus a server that's running a core network.
Does it use your internet landline or does it use their 5G cell network?
It would use, it could use either. I guess. But so with the AWS, the weird thing about AWS is, and I'm not sure about this, because AWS and Microsoft has both partnered with AT&T and Verizon. So all of those companies have their own private 5G options. So you're running data from
it uses
closest AWS servers, because they've got their own central office, and you're running that data there to the cloud.
It uses the CBRS spectrum. So it's not using...
Okay, it does.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the CBRS spectrum is private spectrum. So AT&T did buy some CBRS. So the CBRS spectrum is like what John Deere bought. And that's
3.5 to 3.7 gigahertz. Mm-hmm. And it's intended for exactly this, right? Building private LTE networks or public networks if you're a city or a government, right?
Yes.
It is not the CB band, despite its name. It has nothing to do with Citizens Band. No. Okay. It's in the 3.5 gigahertz band.
Breaker.
The incumbents.
Okay, so then
are the Navy.
Yes, but they're okay with it. You're sharing. We've come a long way towards sharing spectrum.
Right.
We've gotten really good at that now.
Right.
But yeah, okay. So then that's a dedicated spectrum that AT&T owns that's in the CBRS band. So they're not running the same AT&T network that you or I might be on. It's your own dedicated.
Or in this case, AWS. AWS, not AT&T.
Is it AWS?
It says AWS private 5G runs on AWS managed infrastructure. So
yeah, but
it might be AT&T spectrum as opposed to.
Yeah, because AWS has a deal with both AT&T and Verizon for 5G, private 5G networks.
Right.
So why do you do this? Just so you have good phone coverage?
No. You do it because you want low latency. You want to control the quality of the bandwidth, basically. So you want to say, only my factory robots can be on this. This could be for security reasons. It could be because you don't want other traffic getting in the way of your robots.
It's not for your staff's phones.
No. It's for industrial use cases where
I like Stacey's robot imitation. That was very good, Stacey. I like that. That was good.
we used to have a GIF of that, actually.
I believe this is also my monster and Stacey angry, Stacey hungry.
I think it is, yes. But you have the firm wrist here as opposed to the floppy wrist.
As opposed to the floppy.
That's true.
It shows a variety of performance. It's very good.
Well, actually,
my wrists are very agile.
That brings me to another private spectrum and this is another thing you're an expert in, the CV2X applications, the vehicle to vehicle and vehicle to everything else. The National Transportation Safety Board just wrote a letter to the FCC saying, give us this spectrum. They left 30 megahertz of bandwidth for these vehicle to vehicle communications. And they haven't done anything. They've saved the spectrum, but despite keen interest, I'm quoting Ars Technica, from some automakers and industry groups like the Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials and the Intelligent Transportation Society of America, it hasn't been deployed. In fact, the FCC took some of that and reallocated it to Wi-Fi, giving it to Wi-Fi 6E, I think.
Yeah, well, that's because the Trump administration way back at the very beginning, like 2016, they declined, the Department of Transportation declined to make rules, or there was some sort of weird governmental decision, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but I could look it up.
So since 1995, the NTSB has been lobbying for wireless collision avoidance technology.
Wow.
Cars, 1995. Wow. Cars talking to each other saying, no, you go, Alphonse. No, after you, Alphonse. But, and it honestly,
watch out, here comes Alphonse.
Yeah, it would be huge. The NTSB said that connected vehicle technology would reduce the ever-escalating carnage on U.S. roads, they urge the FCC to make sure Wi-Fi devices don't encroach on the remaining 30 megahertz. The good news is 30 megahertz is not as small as that might sound. It's not a huge amount of spectrum, but they do it in Europe with 40 megahertz for V2X. And this year, apparently 1 million V2X cars will be sold in Europe. It'll be in the $10 million range in the next couple of years. So they're going to have it in Europe. Will we have it here? Well,
yeah. So it was the Trump administration back in 2017. So all the way back in 2017, they said, we're not going to mess with this right now. And it was part of I'm just reading.
GM dabbled with vehicle to vehicle in the 2017 Cadillac CTS. In 2018, Toyota publicly committed to deployment in all new cars for the 2021 model year. But shortly thereafter, the Trump FCC said the spectrum is under consideration for reallocation, so Toyota backed off.
Yeah, they stopped doing it because they were the Obama administration had said, "Hey, we're going to go forward with this," and then very early on, Trump they said no, and so then they were like, the car makers were like, "Oh, well, never mind."
The NTSB traffic fatalities last year in the U.S., 42,915 people died. The NTSB documented scenarios where vehicle to vehicle would have saved lives. I think we need this, and I think it's time to move on this.
Yep.
Well, so there's a lot of issues there. There's everyone's favorite, which is spectrum sharing. Like, okay, how do we make sure this doesn't interfere with anything nearby? Then there's like, okay, now we've got cars with this. What kind of protocols are we going to make it? Like, how are they going to communicate? How do you deal with? And then there's also these ambitious, not just vehicle to vehicle, but like vehicle to infrastructure. So how is that going to work? What are the standards that were going to be put in place? And then like Qualcomm was fighting with, who were they fighting with? Anyway, it's been kind of a mess, as it always is when you're trying to like lay out some sort of regulatory standard. Everybody wants it to go their way, basically.